Myoho Renge Kyo. Namo Myoho Renge Kyo, Namo Myoho Renge Kyo, Namo Myoho Renge Kyo. Where in the heck have I been? I hope you're in good health and in good circumstance. Yes, Sifu Sylvain, I'm back. I'm sorry it's been so long, but with good reason. I just wanted to do, actually, I wanted to do a term out of Buddhism reference today, but I didn't bring the right glasses, and I'm getting to that age where I'm blind as a freaking bat. If I don't have 3-4 different pairs of glasses, don't get old. Well, I'm sorry, get as old as you, just keep your vision somehow. Something to chant about. But I did want to update you on what's been occupying almost all of my time. It's been many, many years, perhaps decades, since I last read the MahaPariNirvana Sutra. Reading it again after all these years of experience and research and insights, oh my. Now, many of you may not know this. I wouldn't blame you if you didn't, because it's not obvious. Sutra. When you read a sutra, you think of it like any other book that you read. It's a big book composed of chapters, and the whole thing is a sermon Shakyamuni delivered. However, if you do even a little bit of study on Kumarajiva and his translations of the Lotus Sutra, and yes, I did say plural, what you'll come to find is that scholarship, all scholarship, these sutra, are not just Shakyamuni sitting down and orating the entire sutra. They are actually a collection of lectures given over many years. The Lotus Sutra over 8 years. Other sutras, 12 years. Some only 4 years. Heck, the first one, the Kigan Sutra, wasn't going over well, and he only orated it over a couple of 2-3 weeks. It depends. It varies. Accounts vary. That's a lot of oration in arguably a very short period. So, still, we don't know, because it's not like we have recordings, and it's not like Shakyamuni wrote anything down, right? But for instance, the Lotus Sutra, if you, again, study Kumarajiva, you will learn that these are a collection of lectures, and some of which seem to either be translations that were dubious. In other words, these might contain a lot of words from Shakyamuni, but there's a lot in here that looks like somebody shoehorned their own thinking and their own school of thought. They don't really fit in with the rest of what I've collected over that time period. And so he left out entire chapters. Some chapters went in and then back out, and then some back in. So it wasn't just a ta-da Lotus Sutra. And so when I talk to you about how current translations are, 3,000 years, 2,000 years, 1,000 years after the authorship, with these academicians that either are or not, mostly not Buddhists, just researchers, then their way of thinking infiltrates their translation. Even if what they're working from is pretty darn good, you have to deal with their view of the world. When they say the word faith, they don't know any other word for it. So they default to that. That's called bias. So, the same is true with Buddhists. If you're very well read in early sutras, early lectures, and you've developed them over time with certain sectarian views, whether they be early Yogacara or Theravada, or, these are big schools that still maintain certain ways of reading. The Agama Sutras are the only sutras, or the Pali Canon is the only sutras, blah, 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 blah. And they come to this modern, right? They look at Nichiren like a bunch of, right? They have various opinions about modern practitioners of Buddhism, even Shakyamuni, right? And the Lotus Sutra itself. Nichiren talks about this in his letters all the time, right? How they discount the Lotus Sutra because they don't want to, it's too complicated. It's too much to understand. Well, why do I say all of this again? You've heard me say this before. The reason is because the Lotus Sutra is crafted over lectures that were handed over 8 years of the ultimate teaching that Shakyamuni wanted to impress upon his monks. One of the very central missions was to unglue these monks from these previous schools. They went awry. They didn't get the lesson in full. And he let them do that because they evidently needed to do that just to get to that level. But they had a false impression. Remember in the Lotus Sutra, the false nirvana, the counterfeit dharma, the semblance dharma, all in an effort to keep them learning, even though they didn't have the strength of mind or heart to go all the way. Well, in the Lotus Sutra, he takes the gloves off. He goes, okay, no more kidding around now. You guys need to let that go and learn this. Now, imagine you're one of these monks, and maybe you've been practicing with Shakyamuni for decades. Maybe you've been practicing with Shakyamuni since last week. You have different levels of students, right? So, after 8 years of delivering these lectures on the ultimate method, especially for the future, because in the future, people will have much greater and different capacity and different and greater obstacles to inculcating these teachings. And so they need a method that's very quick, very direct, no kidding around. This is invoke Buddha now, okay? No time to mess around with rituals and all that. Just get it. Nichiren talks about this all the time. That's why the Daimoku, yes? Now, Shakyamuni knows his time as a human being, he's wearing out. He's getting ready to die. And he's got a lot of followers. And he knows this is going to rattle their cage. Now, he's delivered for 8 years the ultimate teaching. But still, you'll remember the Lotus Sutra. And if you don't, you look up my translation of it with all my annotations. And you'll get a very clear picture that there are leaders amongst the monks who even so, being leaders, like Shariputra and Manjushri and others, they had a difficult time in the Lotus Sutra coming to terms with what Shakyamuni was saying. But they knew he was right. They just weren't quite there yet, yeah? And Shakyamuni made predictions for hundreds and hundreds of monks in the Lotus Sutra. Don't worry, you'll get there, right? But now he's about to die. And so he kind of opens up he gets this same huge, unfathomably large collection of people coming to him. Oh my goodness, you're going to die. They're all panicking. And in the face of this, he says, ask me anything you want. opens himself up to questions. So something happens in the MahaPariNirvana Sutra that's never happened before, or since, obviously. It's these people, these monks, right? Lay monks, monastic monks, wandering monks, forest-dwelling monks, every sort of student of his teachings, Shakyamuni's teachings, is now coming to him with a couple of imperatives. Number one, you're leaving us? We thought you were going to be here forever. And the primary mistake there is that thinking this man, Siddhartha, is a Buddha. Like Buddha is like something you make. But the Buddha is unmade, right? Why? Why? Why do you think? Because Buddha isn't a thing. Buddha is an aspect of our mind. It's the ninth consciousness. Buddha is unmade. It's an experience of. It's a mind's capacity. That's why it's always there, inherent in everything in the cosmos. It's just we can instantiate it in our sentient mind. Buddha. Oh, everything's different now because Buddha. Yes, I see with Buddha. Right? It's a verb. It's not a noun. It's an action, not a thing. But, I mean, for the people coming to him, witnessing him die, they're like, blah, 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 what's happening, right? So now you have these people asking him questions that are still on the level of very early teachings, or mid-level teachings, or early Mahayana teachings, or pre-Lotus Sutra teachings, let alone the Lotus Sutra, which they're still going, So one of the primary threads in the Parinirvana is let's distinguish the difference between the potential for Buddha and actual Buddha. And to help you do that, what I propose is something that if you go back and change this in all the stuff you've read, you'll get a huge aha moment. Tathagata. Tathagata is used interchangeably with Buddha depending on what you read. But here's what I'm going to say to you, and I say this in the book, and I say it in the beginning of the book, in the foreword. Tathagata is the potential for Buddha. That potential is throughout the cosmos. So that predates the cosmos. It's a potential, not a thing. But when we, with our amalgam of karma, somehow develop a consciousness, right? The first five we know a lot about. All schools talk about the skandhas, right? The seeing, ear, taste, smell, feel consciousnesses, right? We know those are real. But the thinking consciousness, where is that? Where is that? It's harder to identify. All the way to the thinking consciousnesses that become the thinking that you initiate a new kind of thinking, a depth of thinking, that your preoccupation with all these others, fun ones, has kind of obfuscated, right? This deeper consciousness, this ninth consciousness, that's Buddha. So it's always been there. It's just dormant. It's asleep. Hi, sweetie. Hey, oh gosh, you got spider webs all over your nose. Hey, for those of you who remember, here's how our little Jewel looks now. You guys who've been keeping up with me, you might recognize her, but she's almost fully grown. She just turned a year old, October 22nd. Isn't she pretty? You're a pretty girl. Okay, be good. All right, sorry about that. So, the bottom line is this MahaPariNirvana Sutra, it doesn't read like any other sutra because it's all skillful means. All of it is skillful means, clever devices. So in one chapter, you're reading about these concepts and you're going, oh my God, this is remedial, you know? It's like, why are we talking about this? This is like, doesn't even belong here. And then you remember, oh yeah, he's answering questions from anybody in the crowd who's willing to ask. So he's going to get questions that are super, super basic. But he still tries to respond to them with rhetoric that they know. Some of it is very old rhetoric, and hopefully Buddhism reference comes in handy for that. Not every single term, and then others are quite sophisticated. You know, our old friends, Manjushri and others, they show up, right? And so this is kind of a question and answer period post Lotus Sutra and pre his extinction. So there's questions from all over the map. But I'm telling you, a huge portion of the Nirvana Sutra is about nailing down in very different ways, but Tathagata, potential, Buddha, something you instantiate, something you experience, an action. Potential isn't action. Potential is everywhere, which answers the question about how it's innate. It's innate because it's been there since before time. It's a potential, one of many, but it's a very important potential, and it's only observable, not a fantasy, not magic, observable in your mind, for yourself. That's why you can't give somebody enlightenment. You can't force it in through somebody's left earlobe, right? It's something we have to come to. That's why it's called a path. Because whatever your logical path and your karmic makeup and your experience of life, you need to have the insights that burrow through your monkey mind, your obstacles, to go, aha, there it is, Buddha. Right? It's a very personal practice. This is why, in a way, it's very hard to teach, because all of teaching in Buddhism resolves to motivation. Right? That's why Nichiren, resolve. Steadfast, single-minded. Right? You hear it over and over again. And that didn't come from Nichiren, it came from Shakyamuni. So, a large part of the MahaPariNirvana Sutra, is about this distinction between Tathagata and Buddha. But if you read the MahaPariNirvana as it is right now, in whatever translations you can find, oh my goodness, it's such a mess. It will break your mind. It has been bending my melon for months now. And so I want to spare you that. So I've been going through word by word, and it's a long one. So long that my publisher won't publish the entirety of it because it's too many pages. So I've had to break it up into volume 1, volume 2. I don't like doing that, but I simply have to. Publisher won't handle it. And as I keep adding annotations and explanations and so on and so forth, it only gets bigger. So I'm going to wrap this up now because I've been yakking. I've done one thorough going. I've reread it several times by now, but I've gone through beginning to end with as many comments and corrections and editing, and some paragraphs in there just came from total left field. That's just confusing baloney. I didn't do that much. I think I did that once, actually. That looked like some Theravada wet dream somehow inserted itself here. Total misogyny, totally unnecessary. I just got rid of that. But that's the only paragraph I got rid of. Everything else, I just tried to explain it as best I could. All of that is to say that I'm trying to deliver to you the best, most easily readable translation of the MahaPariNirvana Sutra that will not, first, break your mind, secondly, support your practice, right? Ultimately, we're practicing Nichiren's doctrine of Shakyamuni's Lotus Sutra Buddhism. And the MahaPariNirvana is an effort by Shakyamuni to catch all the stragglers. But that's kind of a good thing. As long as you understand that going in, it's kind of a good thing because all of us are on different levels, right? We're all Lotus Sutra practitioners, yes. But some of us has weird lingering doubts, and they may come from having read, because you're all students too. You may have read some sutra from who knows where and left you with an idea about this dragon thing. And maybe the MahaPariNirvana Sutra picks up on that for you and resolves it. Yay! So I thought, yeah, it's an important document. We really should have it. And Nichiren mentions it many, many times. His focus is the Lotus Sutra, no doubt about it. But he pulls from and quotes the Nirvana every now and again, right? So I've gone through it thoroughly once, which means several rereadings. And now I have my publisher printing up a copy just for me. And as soon as I get those two, I'm going to do as I have in the past. I'm going to read it with you and edit it on the fly for things I missed and typos I find. I think that process is kind of fun to share. It certainly opens me up to dialogues I might not have thought of before, to explain things that I think, yeah, I really should say something more about that in the book, yeah? So in a way, you and I are going to work together to make the final version of this very important supporting document to the Lotus Sutra, right? I'm excited about it, and I hope you're looking forward to it. It's probably going to be another week or two before I get that printed, delivered to me. But as soon as I do, I will come in here as unprepared as usual, unscripted, and we'll get into it. I hope that sounds exciting to you as it does to me. And of course, in the meantime, I'll get back to Buddhism reference. I would do one today, but silly old me, I left my reading glasses in the house, so I'll leave that for next time. Anyway, thank you all for being here, for your practice mostly, right? Keep it up, keep your resolve up. Namo Myoho Renge Kyo. Use the comments sections. Let me know what you're thinking. Or email me directly. Not everybody likes to be public about their thoughts, right? And that's okay. TLKSylvain, gmail.com, right? And yeah, I hope you'll participate with me as we dive into the MahaPariNirvana Sutra. Links in the description as always. Any support you can offer, from clicking like and subscribing, it's a bodhisattva act, to books, ebooks, so on and so forth. I'm going to release the print book first on the MahaPariNirvana, and once it's solid, then I'm going to put out the ebook. Okay, if you disagree with that, let me know. But that's the way I'm proceeding so far. Thank you all so much. I'm so proud of all of you for your practice. It's not as easy as it first seems, is it? It takes some dedication, some work. But the payoff is always there. It's amazing. So with that, Namo Myoho Renge Kyo. I will let you go. I'll see you in the next one. Please take care of your health. Bye for now.